One day I was on my way to Sydney for work, and as usual the train was crowded. By the time it reached my station, there wasn't many seats left. I usually wasn't the one to sit down, but at that particular day I really had the need to do so. I felt very uncomfortable in my lower abdomen, but I wasn't unfamiliar with this feeling. After all, I have been experiencing this since I was 12, every single month without a miss. Why didn't I call sick? Good question. At that time, my company did not provide menstrual leaves, and I probably have to provide doctor's certificate if I call in sick too. And also a part of me persuaded myself that, come on, you will take 2 more pills and then you will get through the day. It sounds stupid, yeah? But I genuinely thought that. And years of experience also told me that it wouldn't really affect my productivity if I could only sit down the whole day. But first, I needed to get to the office. And that's how I ended up in a crowded train, suffering in silence. And I will never forget that moment. I walked upstairs trying to find a seat, hoping that I would get lucky, and I did see one. And then there was another man walking from the opposite direction who spotted the same empty seat. And a split second later, he offered the seat to me, and I thanked him without elaboration. But deep down, I was just screaming with gratitude. I was eternally grateful for this man who did a kind gesture to a stranger, probably not even knowing that how impactful it was. My struggle with period pain has been long-term and seriously painful. If I didn't take painkillers right after it began, I would faint due to the pain and the loss of blood. I experienced that 3 times during my teenage years. So a huge shout out to this gentleman. And yes, this is a video about self-care for people who menstruate, and if you don't feel like you relate to this topic, feel free to leave. But this is something that I personally struggled with for a long time, and I had this huge realization on self-care, self-awareness, and in general, living a better life after reading this book, The Period Power. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Venus and I'm a music therapist based in Sydney, Australia. I really want to address this invisible pain that I know many people are also experiencing as well. Understanding my cycles single-handedly changed my self-care game. And this book, The Period Power, took my self-awareness to the next level. First and foremost, hear this. Period pain is common, but it doesn't mean that it's okay. I've suffered in silence for years. I couldn't remember any cycle when I didn't rely on painkillers, ginger tea, or hot water pads to get through the first 2 days. I'm not saying that after reading this book, your pain will be cured miraculously. It's a journey, just like personal development. And with more knowledge, more toolkits, and self-awareness, you can navigate your cycles with less hassle because you have it under your control. I'm still taking painkillers at this point, but I reduce it to only 2 during the first day. I generally do not work out during the first day of my period just to give my body a break. But on the 2nd or 3rd day, I usually resume my normal workout routine, which can consist of HIIT or boxing. You do you, and always listen to your body. But the point is, how do you listen to your body or understand what really is going on when you can't see it and you have no data to rely on? This is what I'm going to cover in the next section. How this book empowered me with knowledge and practical tips, and more importantly, give me control over my cycle so that I can thrive during every season and live a healthier, stress-free life. So let's get started. The first thing being introduced in this book is that we can see our cycle as different seasons. I'll put the screenshots here. The first day of your period marks the beginning of a new cycle, which is winter. And the book goes into detail about how you might be feeling physically and emotionally in each season because of the hormone changes, which logically explains why we feel a certain way in each season. So you might be asking, well, why do we need to know where we are at in our cycle? We will know when, well, we will know. Okay, so here's the thing. I have a fairly regular, stable cycle, always between 27 to 30 days, and I experience the same fatigue and pain every month. Nothing can surprise me, right? Wrong. Everything you do to your mind and body the food that you eat, the kind of job that you have, the news that you consume, the people you're around with, they all impact your physical and mental health. Your mood can be impacted, your sleep can be disrupted. Don't always blame the hormones if you act out of line or something. Think about this. If you have a better understanding about your body, your allergies, your triggers, and when you feel like you're at your best, you can live a much happier and productive life. There must be a time when you didn't have a bad winter, I bet. You might be like, the discomfort was actually manageable and it wasn't that bad transitioning to spring and summer. Have you ever paid attention to what you did to make that happen? Because if you did, you could totally replicate the process and create more success. It's been more than a month since I finished reading this book and I tested the ideas. It works. And I'm sharing all my takeaways from this book here on improving self-care and productivity. Let's get into it. So locating where I'm at in my cycle is the foundation of everything we talk about later on. And this book talks about the most reliable and low-cost method. Virtually no cost, just a good digital thermometer and 1 minute of your time. Track your basal body temperature, or the BBT. So BBT is the lowest body temperature that your body reaches during your sleep, which is why, according to the book, it must be taken after at least 3 hours of consecutive sleep and before you eat, you drink or get out of bed in the morning. Before ovulation, your temperature is lower, around 36 to 36.5 degrees Celsius, and after ovulation, it rises by 0.2 degrees Celsius or more because of the heating effects of progesterone, which is produced after ovulation. Some people will also find that their temperature dips slightly before they ovulate, which can be a helpful heads up that is about to happen. And if you're not pregnant, the progesterone falls towards the end of your menstrual cycle, causing your BBT to drop just before or as your period starts. And if conception has taken place, your temperature remains high and might climb even higher. BBT tracking is an accurate way of assessing when ovulation takes place. After a few months of tracking your temperature, you know where you are at in your cycle. And the book shows some graphs here. I've just started to chart my BBT around a month ago, and I kid you not, here's my graph. It's just like the first graph that you see from the book. So I'm using this thermometer here, it's digital, it's in degrees Celsius, and I do this the first thing I get up, and I put the result in the health app on my phone. Whether you're trying to conceive or not, this is useful information. If you have irregular period, you are more able to predict when your period will start because once ovulation takes place, you can count the number of days until the new cycle. And there are other methods to track ovulation and fertile window, which I will not cover here because I haven't tried that, and I'm not interested in that either. But if you want to, please read the book, it's so good. There is one more thing that the book suggests tracking. You might already know that I'm always preaching about self-awareness. There is no self-development without self-awareness. Tracking what you think, what you feel, and what you do is the best way to know yourself. And this book, The Period Power, talks about tracking your emotions in order to navigate your cycle. Human beings are emotional creatures. We feel differently every single day with different stimulus. It is helpful to understand our triggers and our comfort zones. And here is an example of an emotion tracking chart from the book. You can download the exact same empty chart from the author directly, which I'll put the link in the description box. The book goes on to describe in detail how we typically would feel in each season due to hormone changes. For example, in winter, you might feel really low and tired, which makes sense, right? If you suffer from period pain like I do, you might need extra time to rest and reprioritize your tasks and responsibilities. In spring, you might feel more enthusiastic because you're not bleeding anymore, and you might feel an upswing in energy, like a spark being ignited within you. It comes in full force in summer, when you literally feel like you're queen bee and you can conquer the world. Then in autumn, you might feel a little bit quiet and more self-reflective, getting ready for the next cycle. Lucky for me, I've always been tracking my thoughts and emotions through journaling every single day, so it's easy for me to spot patterns at different points in my cycle. But what I realized is that my emotion is pretty much fluctuating all the time because of situations I face. Like during the last summer, I had a mental breakdown at work, so I was feeling really sad, but I was supposed to have high energy, right? So after this realization, I added an energy level column on my journal to keep track of whether it's high or low as well. And the book also provides some journaling prompts for you to reflect on so that you can understand your cycle better. And speaking of journaling, if you're interested in trying or struggling to stick to this habit or interested in knowing how I journal, I have a Notion template in the description box that you can copy for free. And you can also watch the video here. I feel like I will never stop talking about Notion because it's just so useful. If I go back to the main page of my journal, I can easily see how I was feeling and how my energy level was like. So it's like a mental graph being plotted out automatically. So say that you are just like me, you don't plan to conceive, but you just want to improve your health and productivity. What do you do after charting your cycle and emotions for a few months? Well, you plan your schedule according to where you are at in your cycle. You know how the saying goes, work smarter, not harder. The book describes that winter is the season to prioritize self-care for obvious reasons and get enough rest, plan the cycle out. Winter is the time to set the tone for the cycle. And then in spring and summer, we can go socialize, try new things, and be productive. It's all about execution and experimenting since you have high energy for these things. Then autumn is the time to tune into your inner voice, listen to your intuition or gut feeling, and plan the next cycle or the next big move if you're looking for new career, relationships, change, or a big challenge. As our physical and mental health are related, it makes sense to plan my schedule and activities according to my cycle to optimize my life. For example, in winter, I might skip a HIIT workout and do yoga instead. I might declutter my room or take a night off just to chill. In spring, I might start planning the videos that I'm going to create and start asking friends out. Of course, I will try to suit their cycles as well. In summer, I might try new things, film more videos, meet more new friends, and just be more outgoing in general. Then in autumn, I will block one night just to reflect on my cycle and make changes for the next one. I will reduce the number of social events and might do more reading and listening to podcasts to get inspiration. Whatever you do with your time, always prioritize yourself, even if that means setting boundaries and letting some people down. That's my takeaway, because I've always been saying yes despite my inner self screaming a big no. I have been planning my days as much as I can in the past cycle and I feel so much better, more energetic, and more importantly, in control. Like life, there is a season for everything. There are ups and downs. It is okay. Be kind to yourself. The second half of the book covers pills, PMS, diet, irregular cycles, period cramps, and other health issues. So I always have this giant myth in my mind, I think something to do with Chinese medicine, that watermelon and ice cream are the worst food that you can have for people who menstruate in general because they are toxic and they make period cramps worse. But no one says no to ice cream, and it's so tempting to have watermelon with the summer here in Australia. I don't know, maybe that has something to do with Asian body structure. I try not to get cold drinks now, not even water. I work out almost every day and that helped with my cramps, but the book talks more than that. Our diet is everything. And this is what I always talk about on this channel. Our input shapes our output, and that applies to both food and information. Your gut health, inflammation, bloating issues, different types of diets, they're all covered in the book. I have been paying more attention to my diet since then, and I did realize that dairy products aren't good for my body. I don't know why it took me so long to realize that. I changed to plant-based milk now, and I'm trying to have as less cheese as possible. But I do enjoy a cheat meal here now and then, especially with bubble teas and proper pizza. But then now I'm just more mindful about my diet, and when I'm not feeling well, I get upset, and then I'm not productive, which affects my whole schedule. If you are in doubt of anything, go to the GP and discuss your options. I wasn't feeling well around the time I finished reading the book, so I did a blood test. But turned out I was healthy. So I tweaked my intermittent fasting pattern a little bit and keep monitoring my body reactions and my moods. Find out what works for you. Similarly, what you consume mentally on a daily basis matters a lot as well. Be mindful of your information consumption pattern and your timeline. 2 questions I want to ask you. How will you feel if you receive a piece of bad news when you check your phone first thing in the morning? And how does your timeline on social media platforms look like? Who do you follow? Are they making you feel better or worse? I'm not blaming the technology for the cause of declining mental health. I don't think that's the case. But we do have to be mindful about anything that we consume, including news, social media, and what people around us tell us. Your environment matters, and there are things under your control. Unfollow your fake friends if you find yourself comparing their best lives to your real one. And turn off the nose notification. We all know that the world is on fire anyway. Draw boundaries with your colleagues who love to gossip. You get the drill. There's a quote by Alexandra Pope in the book that says, "How you care for yourself here sets the tone for the rest of your cycle." And that was referring to winter when our period begins. Yes, it's 2022 and I still don't understand why not every company has menstrual leaves. But please, you don't need anyone's permission to take care of yourself. You don't have to hustle that hard, especially during your winter. This book genuinely changed my life in a non-business or finance genre context. I'm stepping up my self-care game, and I know that as I'm always growing and life's always changing, I will need to keep monitoring my cycle in order to live a better life and achieving my goals. So shout out to my friend who introduced me to this book. It's life-changing. I hope you get something out of this video as well. If you have enjoyed this, please give it a like. Go read the book if you're interested, and don't forget that you can download my Notion journaling template for free in the link down below. You can also download the emotional chart from the author herself, link down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.